So what's the key to waking up earlier? Right now it's around 6 a.m. The sun hasn't come out yet fully. Been walking for about 30-40 minutes at this point. And I've had a lot of people ask me, how to wake up earlier. And now that I've more consistently have been waking up earlier, I want to share my process, what it actually took. Because just setting up alarms and forcing myself to get out of bed at 5:30, whatever it is, was not easy. Like, I would just fall back asleep, or I did the tricks where you put the phone outside, and sometimes I would go outside, turn it off, come back in. I got to a point I would just say, "Hey Siri, stop the alarm." Like, I wouldn't even get out of bed. And it's definitely a super challenging thing, because when you look at first, you have to understand why we're not able to get up the time that we want, and how challenging it is for so many people, including me. A lot of it comes from school and how we were raised, okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up, I literally, to get up earlier, I had to literally examine every single thought the night before, right before going to bed. Because sometimes before even going to bed, my thought is like, oh, it's past this time, there's no way I'm getting up, or like, I don't want to get up early, or oh, tomorrow's the weekend, fuck, it's gonna be hard, everyone's asleep now, I have to get up, and like all these thoughts, right? And then when you're in bed, there's more thoughts, whether it's the night before or whether you just wake up. There's times where I would wake up, my first thought is like, I'm tired, even though I already got the amount of sleep I needed, right? And that was another thing, seeing exactly how much sleep you need. And I've done a lot of research, because everyone promotes this thing of get 8 hours of sleep and all that. But again, anything that gets promoted heavily, you should question it, right? Because as you know, obviously the media and the system we live in is designed specifically to keep you down. Now, I know a lot of successful people, very wealthy people, and just successful in generally different perspectives, successful in relationships, money, purpose, things like that. They generally get about 6 hours of sleep, right? 6 to 6.5 hours. And at the beginning, I used to be like, wow, that's not enough sleep. Like, I need 8 hours of sleep. But have you noticed this point, right? Of when, and again, that you have to really go study this stuff if you want, but go look at it. Like, people who say, let's say they wanted to get up at, 5 in the morning, the people who slept at 9 or 10 had a hard time getting up, and they were still tired, versus people who went to bed by, let's say, 11, 12 and got up around 5, right? So you need your body needs 4 to 6 hours. Beyond that, it's literally you're feeding your mind at that point. And what I mean by that is, have you ever noticed when you get your 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever sleep you get, because there's this myth that the more sleep you get, that the less sleepy you are. It's actually the opposite. If you are self-honest, the times where you sleep the most, not only you're most tired, but then also you wake up with a bunch of new fears, doubts, stress that you didn't even have the night before. And that's how your mind works, whether you want to believe me or not. Like, there's courses I could direct you to, whatever, like if you reach out, and these are valid. I've seen it for myself and for hundreds of people. So I'm not just speaking opinions or what I think, right? Because many people in the comments are like, no, you need 8 hours sleep. Okay, go watch someone that gets 8 hours sleep. Even the people who say they get 8 hours sleep, that you're like, oh, but that guy's wealthy, you haven't been with them for a week to know what they actually do. It's like, most of the time they probably are getting 6-7 hours or 5 hours sleep, and then one time they get 8 hours and they see how good that feels, and they tell everyone get 8 hours. But in reality, they're actually getting less. So don't just go based on online stuff. Like, I've done online research, but then I also know wealthy people in person where I've stayed with them for several days to actually see what they do. And also people who obviously did this to become wealthy, okay? Again, I'm gonna share a lot of points in this. This is not gonna be a quick dopamine video for you to watch for 2 minutes, be like, nah, this doesn't fucking satisfy my emotions. Like, if you wanna be wealthy, like if you came and watched through a 10-15 minute video without distractions and songs playing in the background, then how the F are you gonna be waking up at 5:30? Like, this is not for you, okay? And 5:30 is not even early, by the way, right? Because you have people I know people at 3:30 they've been getting up, or at 4 they've been getting up for like years, right? So for me, I used to sleep until 9-10 in the morning sometimes, and so that's why it was super challenging for me to get to this point. And that's why I'm sharing, because I know not what it actually takes. So back to the point, yeah, like if you notice, when you wake up after 8 hours, you have these thoughts of like, oh, my day is gonna be ruined, or whatever it is. Because if you do the research, like your mind, while you speak, imagine it goes to this cloud, like Amazon has the Amazon cloud, and everyone's all the companies' data, everything is there. Imagine all of our minds collectively has the data there, and your mind goes and picks points from that, and the points that will keep you the same place, and downloads it to your mind, so that the next day you're just busy processing what these new emotions and stress and anxieties are. So by the time it gets nighttime, you haven't done shit, right? And it uses dreams as a way of, like, you know how, let's say, if as a parent, or you're just babysitting and you don't want the kid to bother you because you want to do something, you put the kid in front of like Netflix or some cartoon or whatever. That's terrible for them, by the way. But then they're distracted and you go do your thing. Imagine your mind does the same thing to you. It puts this dream in front of you, so you're distracted while it's downloading all the shit into you, right? So again, you could take it or leave it, but see for yourself. When you get the less sleep, generally, if you are able to get up using obviously the things I will share, you will be more alert, right? And this will take time, by the way. Like, when I set the goal, I didn't expect myself to like get up right away. Like, there's days where I would fail. There's days sometimes I don't get up. Sometimes I get up at 6:30, sometimes at 7, sometimes at 6. So it just varies, right? That's another thing I realized. I thought like people who get up early, they get up exactly like at the same time every single day. But I found out, no, they generally get up between these hours. For me, the reason I'm getting up sometimes 7:30, whatever, is because still I was figuring out a lot of stuff with my diet and things like that, right? Eating healthier, so my body detoxing, and my body sometimes feeling heavier in the morning, because there's a phase you go through when you start eating healthier and detox. But so generally the main points that helped me get up earlier was 2 main points, right? Obviously it was the mental stuff and the physical, right? What I actually eat, physically, like learning how to even set the temperatures and all that stuff. But again, a lot of things I figured out really came from one point. I learned how to do this thing called self-forgiveness, very specifically done. And there's a specific course, free course, that teaches that. But that one, if you want it, reach out so I could tell you. Not that I benefit from sharing the course with you, but just so I know who's actually even serious wanting to do that. So then I could just send it and then give you instructions of the best way to go through that and how to apply that in your life. But that would take longer. That's why I'm not going on here. But using that, figuring out this process of self-forgiveness. Also, through that course, it supports you to, through a process, become very aware of your thoughts, essentially. Because most of us, our thoughts are on autopilot, right? And once you start becoming aware of those thoughts, and then you start doing this process of self-forgiveness on each one, all of a sudden you start remembering all these memories from childhood attached to that. And again, I've used different tools, right, to be able to do this. And I've accelerated what takes people years to be able to do to achieve this goal. I've been able to do it in a month and a half or less, right? So many of my memories came from, for example, as a kid, let's say I'm, I don't know, 4 years old, 3, 4, 5, I would get up with a lot of energy, and then I would be running around, and it's super early in the morning, right? Sometimes kids get up early, but my parents were, let's say, asleep, so they didn't want to get up because they haven't walked through their points of how to get up earlier. So they would either tell me, just be quiet, like don't turn on the lights or whatever, because sometimes it would be dark earlier, right? And they would tell me, like, just go back to sleep, like, because they wanted the peace and quiet so that they could sleep. But then by telling me to either go back to sleep or just be quiet, I realized, okay, if I want to be quiet, that means I can't run around. So I would sit at one place, and then I didn't have the vocabulary of, okay, what do I do at that time? Now that I am awake, I didn't know what to do. I would just sit there, get bored, and then go fall back asleep. And that's why many of you, if you notice, if you get up early, your first few thoughts are going to be, what do I do? Like, this is where it all comes from. And everyone's thoughts are so predictable that I could literally tell you all the thoughts that will go through your head when you try to get up. The first few times getting up, your first thoughts are going to be like, oh my God, I can't wait to go back to sleep. Like, why am I even doing this? Like, oh, I don't even have that much going on today anyway. Or like, oh, if I get more sleep, like, I'll still be able to get things done anyway. And all these thoughts, even though you know you've been doing this shit for how many years of your life and you still don't have the things you want, but still your mind will convince you. And that's where that point of self-forgiveness comes in. Because then getting up, what I've been doing consistently is get up, go for a walk, and do self-forgiveness on all these thoughts that come up, to a point where now, like, for example, this morning I had no thoughts and I'm just recording this video, right? Like, now when I get up, there's nothing much in my head because I've processed so much of that, right? And it doesn't matter if it's rainy. When it was rainy, there's new thoughts that were coming in, and I had to process that. When it was foggy, when it was super hot, when it was super cold, when it was there's a period, for some reason here, I live in Houston, for like a week, there was like so many mosquitoes. I had like 20 mosquito bites, like on each leg, like not even joking, right? The back of my leg, all around it was like red. So all of these brought up points that I had to process. But literally, that point of self-forgiveness on thoughts is the single-handedly most important thing that's helped me figure everything else out, right? Through that, I realized, okay, I get up in the morning, I'm like, damn, it's cold, right? First of all, because I didn't want to wake up to a cold temperature, I would make it warm. But then if you look at that, when the temperature's hotter and all that stuff, and your body is heating up, it's harder to go to sleep. The body relaxes and falls asleep more when your body is cooler. So when I would do that, then I have a hard time going to bed. So you see, each day, by the way, it was like an experiment. Like, I wasn't worried about like whether I got up at that time or no. I was like, how many lessons can I learn of why I wasn't able to wake up, and let me fix one more thing. And I knew eventually, if I do that, eventually I'll be able to get up, right? Which now I'm seeing the results of that. You see the sun is out more now. And what I figured out, for example, and I thought, oh, there's no solution, blah, blah, blah. So then I did self-forgiveness on all that. And then literally looked up on, I think, ChatGPT or something to come up with solutions. But then I had the thought of, oh, wait, I remember my thermostat. I could schedule different temperatures at different times on different days. And I just learned how to do that. And now I've scheduled my thermostat so that at, 10:30, 11 p.m., automatically it cools the place down. And then around, like, let's say 5, 4:35 a.m., it starts going back to normal temperature, so that by the time I'm awake, the temperature is actually perfect, what I'm used to throughout the day, so it's much easier to get out. So that's just one example of some I was able to fix. Another thing was I used to eat super late, right? I used to eat sometimes at 9, 10 p.m., right? But then, and currently I'm not in a relationship, so I don't have a woman that makes food, so by the time I'm home, it's already ready, all that. And that's another point right there too. Like, even though I know how to make money, I know how to do all this stuff, simply not having a woman, having a relationship based on the agreements of, okay, what I'm creating and what you're creating, and together working to come up with a structure, it makes it so much difficult to go to that next level. And this is why also, for most people, again, I'm not talking about the fucking few that somehow got the DNA and went from being poor to being rich. Like, you're not one of those people, okay? And I used to think this point of, oh, if they did it, I could do it. It's all a fucking lie. Like, certain people somehow got the genetics from their parents, and things come easily to them. So whether they're married, not married, whatever, they're just able to get there. But also, most of them have girlfriends that just come over and cook and do all this stuff, but they're not telling you all that stuff, right? Because just being simply by yourself, it's gonna be very difficult. But this doesn't mean just go find someone, because there's a whole nother point of how you even look for a partner that's best, and that you're not gonna just get separated later and all that stuff, okay? So yeah, I used to eat late, and that would affect me. That would affect how when I would get up, and other people would tell me, yeah, I started eating earlier and I felt much better and this and that. And I was like, oh no, that's just you, but that's not me. Because I didn't know any of the research science of fucking, when you eat throughout the night, your body's trying to process. So if it's spending energy on processing the food, then you're not spending that time to actually rest. So the quality of your sleep will be lower, which when you get up, you'll be more tired. And like, I didn't know all this stuff, right? But I just experimented for like a week. I was like, okay, let me not eat much past 7:30. And then by the time I was going to sleep, I go to sleep around 11:30. Like, it actually did help. And then I was like, let me eat again at this time, see what happens. I ate, and it was so hard. Like, those are the days where I wouldn't get out of bed, and I would get out an hour, 2 hours later, right? So then I was like, oh, this does have an impact. But if I go through all the small changes I've done, it's gonna be an hour-long video. But I'm telling you, the simplest thing I did to even figure out all these all the health changes, diet changes, whatever I needed to do, it simply came back from being aware of my thoughts and doing self-forgiveness on them. So if you need more support on that point of what course that is and things like that, definitely reach out, and I can support you with that. And the people who know what I'm talking about, that course and all that, then just start doing that. Get up early, go for a walk, and just do self-forgiveness on whatever thoughts come up, right? So that's literally it. Like, to those, as long as it makes sense to one person and you do it, you will see results. Like, this is not made up stuff, right? And expect this to take you some time, right? For me, it took me a month and a half, and I'm still working through this point, right? It's not that it gets easier. Well, it gets easier because you don't have all these thoughts to deal with, but my point is, it's still not pleasant getting up and like not staying in bed and all that stuff. Like, it never gets easier in that sense. You just it becomes automated. Like, you do it whether it feels good or not, right? Like brushing your teeth, there's nights where you're probably like, I don't feel like brushing my teeth at all. But if you've experienced like me, not brushing your teeth and letting things build up, and it's not just even brushing the teeth, but the food you eat actually has more damage on the teeth. Before us, we don't know. They say brush your teeth, but let's say even that, like if you get cavities and stuff, right? Because I have people in our group that are searching that and how you could reverse cavities and so forth. Like, shit is possible that most of you don't even realize. And that's why this process of perfecting yourself, perfecting different aspects is so important. People see that word as like, oh, you can never be perfect, but perfect could mean essentially like just redefine it as like you look at something that's not where you want it to be, and it's not best, and then you start working on making it best. Like that's a process of self-perfection, right? And we have groups, self-perfected, so forth, where we have calls, we talk about a lot of these points. So if you're interested in that, the community, being part of something bigger than yourself, and I mean going into the world of AI and robots, like if you're alone, good luck. So if you want to be part of a group of people that know what they're doing and where they're headed, you could ask me about that too, and I could let you know. You could just tell me the word self-perfected, okay? But yeah, go apply that and let me know how it goes in the comments. Peace.